Indiana. Did that for 3 years, and I was working full-time at 25 while I was going to school. So it was a lot of work, but it's worth it as long as you have the interest for it. And here you guys got this new Sling Studio. You guys use it all the time, or a little bit? Morning announcements, stuff like that? You guys mess with it a little bit, one-on-one? Okay. So that's like an all-in-one system, as you've seen. You know, you shoot the video, live video, whatever, and it broadcasts around the school. And that's on a smaller scale. That's kind of what 44 News is, except we have about 15, 20 different positions, and that takes some time, like to do the news every single day. And everything has to work for the newscast to work, like every position. I mean, you start at the top, you've got like the general manager, station manager, who's in charge of everything, all of the departments, each position. And he's kind of like the big boss of the station. You got the news director, he's in charge of the news department alone. And he oversees all the reporters, the talent, producers, the editors, everything. And you get down into the assignment editor, and what he does is he finds the stories for the day. They sit in the morning, or they sit in a meeting every single morning and every evening, and they discuss what stories they're going to cover, what they're going to do, plan of action, basically planning the show, just coming out with an outline of what they're going to cover for the day. That's his job. And then you see the studio talent. They're the reporters in the studio, on the air. You know, you see them behind a desk, wherever they're in the newsroom. That's their job, is they report the news, they write some of the news, things like that. They help out in the studio. And then the producers, they kind of write the stories. They're behind the scenes. They write the stories for those reporters and the anchors to read. They do that. And there's also the social web producers, and they kind of post the stories online so that you guys can see it on social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And then you get the editors, which that's what I used to do. You'll get the video, and you'll have to cut video to the script that the producers write, make sure the video matches what they do, so that during the newscast they can play back to that. So you'll get from national CNN, ABC, stuff like that. They'll send that off. And then you'll get the reporters, of course, who are out in the field. They kind of lead the studio, so if you see them live outside, stuff like that, that's their job. They'll interview people, things like that. They're hustling and bustling around all the time, and then with them, usually there's a photographer, which I did that as well. So you're working closely with the reporter, and you go out in the field with them, and you're more the tech person, so you're manning the camera, you're watching the audio balances, making sure everything is coming together so you can take it back to the station, edit it, piece it together, and you make like a 2-minute, minute and a half video so that the news can play it back. And that's kind of like the main stories of the day, more local stories. And then you'll have, in the studio, who never really leaves, they work behind the scenes. You have the directors, and they kind of punch up all the graphics and the video. They tell the talent where to move, what camera to look at, things like that. They also instruct the camera people that are inside the studio that are working the main cameras. That's the production assistant, the PAs, and they also do the audio inside the studio, the microphones. There's a graphics person. There's just a lot of wheels that have to turn to get the newscast rolling, and it kind of just depends what your interest is, what you want to go into. I mean, like for me, I don't really do news, so I'm more on the creative side, and my field's a little different from theirs. I just, you know, it depends on what your talents are, what your interest is, and you know, not everybody can do everything, of course. So some people are stronger at other things than something else. Any questions so far on positions or how the newscast works, what goes into it, anything? So that's kind of how the news department works. And like I said, what I do is I make the commercials. So what I do is, my hallway is totally different from what the news does. I work with the salespeople, because there's salespeople that work at the studio as well. Because the money that the salespeople bring in for advertising business helps the news get bigger and expand, and you know, to kind of help the budget of the station. So to do that is they get new clients and businesses around the area, and I'll go out with them, and I will go to their business and I will shoot the video, I'll write the commercial, I'll bring it back, I'll edit it, piece everything together. That all goes through me. And then I send it back out to the client, see if they like it, and that's the commercial that they run on the station on air. And if you watch 44, you may have seen some things I've done. And with me today, I brought a few commercials that I've done before.
Those who like to
for a hair cutting place. And this commercial, last year, there was an award for the state, and I didn't win, but I got second, third place, and this is one of the commercials that ranked there.
Those who like to look good come to the Parlor. The Parlor offers ladies' full salon options as well as traditional barber haircuts and beard services. Check out our selection of over 30 beard and hair products including Grave Before Shave and Suavecito lines. Low-key and easygoing, the Parlor is for the whole family.
I don't always have my haircut and shave done in Evansville, but when I do, I choose the Parlor. Stay groomed, my friends.
That's running on air right now, and I'll show you what I do is, so I'll shoot the video like I said, and then I also have to work on the graphics and everything. So these are all different pieces. These are layers on top of the video. So you have the logo here, you have these bars here, you have the video that I shot, and then you don't just shoot it and lay it down. You actually have to edit the coloring. So you make it brighter, darker, whatever works, bring out some reds, push down blues, greens. So they're only 30-second commercials for the most part, but what most people at home don't realize is it takes about 10 to 14 hours per commercial that goes into it. So a lot of time. It's graphics heavy on the end here. See, I had to animate each and every single one of these letters. So if you see these
Stay groomed, my friends.
And then you see how the lights flash. These are all pieces layered on top of the video. They're all individual elements. Now I'll show you a screenshot of the programs that I use and how it kind of works to give you more visual representation. So what I do first is, this program is called Adobe Premiere. You'll get your video, you bring it in, you import it to the computer with all the audio. And this is, each layout looks a little different, but this is for the most part. This is your timeline here. So what you see in here, these blues, those are all different video segments. There's a cut, and that's a different piece of video. That's laid down there, and then you have the audio underneath. That's what this green is. Even this purple and this blue down here. I usually put the voiced stuff, the voiced audio, I usually put in the green segments down here, and then you have the music underneath. You have to level it out. This is what they're doing here. You have to make sure that all the audio is level so the music's not too loud. You can't hear over the voice. You have to make sure the voice is laid down evenly, and then you just make the video paste together fast. I usually make a quick rough draft in Premiere, get my video and audio laid down and mixed well, and then after that, I'll move it to another program called Adobe After Effects. And this is where you can make those fancy graphics and text things like you saw. But the difference here is this program is a lot more complicated. Every little thing, see each of these lines, that is one segment or one element, whether it's a graphic, an audio piece, or a piece of video. And you have like keyframes and key marks here, markers. Organization is a big key. You can get lost real quick if you don't stay organized. But then that's where you can start editing, the colors and stuff. This is usually what you're seeing. There's just a bunch of effects and things like that, and you can do anything. Like your imagination is the limit. So if you're looking in this field, more the tech side, I'd recommend looking into the Adobe suites and start learning some of this. Maybe if you go down the road, you'll start learning it. But the earlier, the better. I'll show you some other commercials that I've got. I made as well. This one was the other video that ranked in the top 3 of the state.
Located in Evansville's historic Greyhound bus station, Brew Burger provides you with a unique dining experience. Brew Burger's menu features an array of signature burgers. They don't skimp on the sides. Complement your mouth-watering burger with hand-cut fries, beer-battered onion rings, and a multitude of salads, appetizers, and desserts. Pair your meal with a hand-dipped milkshake or perhaps a brew from our extensive beer list. Be a part of Evansville's downtown revitalization and dine with Brew Burger.
So does anybody watch Channel 44 by chance, 44 News? So you may have seen some of these commercials by chance because these are all running. But you get a variety of businesses. They're not all food. They're not all stores. Like I said, you saw the hair cutting business. On top of that, I also I make commercials for the station themselves advertising the news.
44 News is focused on you.
In a society riddled with false headlines and biased information, 44 News fights back by keeping you in the know with what's new, what's now, and what's next. Consistently and accurately reporting important tri-state information on air and online by implementing our resources to deliver the most up-to-date news, weather, and sports. We trust you to trust us.
Today and every day. 44 News, focused on family and the community.
So it kind of just advertises our brand, what we are, who we are. And I'll even show you some of the different positions that I got on video here.
44 News is focused.
So this is out in the field. This would be a photographer. You would man one of these cameras live, so you go out in the field with a reporter who's on the other side of this camera you can't see. They go out and about, get all
Just on you.
In a society riddled with false headlines
So she's an anchor, but she's talking on screen. So right now she's more
and biased information, 44 News.
So here's the main talent in the morning. See, these are the people who sit on the couches, behind the desk, on the camera, read you the news, deliver the news. That's their jobs.
Fights back by keeping you in the know.
So here's these are anchors as well, but they're out in the field. This is actually at Fall Festival. We have a booth, so they're typically not out in the public, but sometimes they can be. In news, you never know what you're going to do. Every day is different. You don't know what's going to happen. There's breaking news, there's wrecks you have to cover, there's fires, then there's politics. Like every day, you have to cover it all because it all applies to the local.
With what's new, what's now, and what's next. Consistently and accurately reporting important
Covering news stories.
State information.
So he's actually a weather person, which I didn't touch on that, but also with the talent, you have the weather people and you have the sports department. I think we've got 3 meteorologists, so you know what the weather people do. They tell the weather, they write their parts and the weather pieces. The sports people, they go out and cover the local high school sports, big sports, college sports, things like that. They're pretty self-explanatory themselves.
On air and online by
So this would be like what a producer does. You kind of see the timeline here, the rundown, what they do, and they have stories in each of these slots, and then they write the script in here for the reporters to read as well as the anchors. So they'll write it here, then the director punches it up, and if you look way over here, you see part of the camera here, and in front of the camera, there's a computer screen with a mirror. So the computer screen's laying down, the camera's right here, but there's a mirror in front of the camera lens, and the text will reflect on the mirror so that they can look directly at the camera and read the script. So you can't see that if you're watching at home. You can't see those words, but on the other side of that, the reporters can, and the talent. So they don't have to memorize everything. Makes it much easier.
Implementing our resources.
So another anchor there.
Is to deliver the most up-to-date
Weather person.
news, weather, and sports. We trust you to trust us.
Today and every day. 44 News.
And then, like I said, going back to graphics, so this whole background and all these little pieces. All the wireframe thing was a layer, then you have the background blue layer, and then you saw that flash come up, that was another layer, and these are 2 more layers with the text. So you can see how complicated it can get. In most commercials, I think I average around probably 50 to 80 layers on top of each other. So you have to keep that organized. And usually what's on top is what's on top of the video, and then, so in this case, the blue background would be on the very bottom, this wireframe would be on top of that, then you get the logos on top of those, because if you put the logos, say underneath the blue background, these aren't going to show up. So what's on top is what you see, and then the holes, I guess, through the video is what you would see of the background. So that's how that works. I got a couple more commercials I can show you guys. You may have seen this one. This is a popular one that runs.
Queen Mary's is the Tri-State's destination for vacuums, sewing machines, and allergy relief products. That's right, we have over 100 models on display and ready to try. We have free assembly. When you break yourself a needle, throw it away, you get it fixed. Save some money. Queen Mary's, we have a $49 special. Fix it, make it smell good, and make it run my ear again for only $49.
Oh, wow.
Vacuums, sewing machines, allergy relief products. Queen Mary's.
Sometimes you get into goofy spots like that, and you saw how graphic heavy that was.
Oh, the guy's voice was the girl's.
So how that last screen was, how that worked. Let's see here. So we have, this is actually, we shot them against the wall here, and then we recorded their audio. And then we switched his audio with hers. She recorded that line, but we synced it up with them mouthing it. So if you watch really closely, it doesn't line up exact, because that's impossible. But at home, you're not going to realize because it happens so fast. You saw some of the crazy text and graphics, especially through here. You know, that explosion happens and stuff. You know, you can kind of break the wall. You have the mask out parts, which that's another thing, masking, which is where you take a layer and you kind of cut out the edges of it to make it align with something else. Because technically, this text and this $49 is above, is stacked on top of this background. But if you mask it, you can cut out the outline of this to make it look like it's underneath. And you have to go frame by frame doing that. So, photographers, for the most part, they take a picture and they just have that one picture, right? But with video, you have several pictures in the one. For the most part, they're 30 frames, so 30 pictures in 1 second. So you have to go through each frame and make sure that it's lined up, everything's corrected, and it just flows together. So it can be much more difficult. I'll show you a couple more commercials that I got. Here's a bowling one.
Turn that frown upside down with family and friends at River City Recreation. Friendly, clean, and fun for all. RCR should be on your Have Fun list as you come roll the rock at River City Recreation, 1050 South Weinbach.
We'll get it back.
Really, everything's pretty eclectic. Nothing is ever the same. No two commercials are the same. You get different businesses. Here's one for Salsaritas.
Salsaritas, Mexican food done right. Fresh picked, fresh made, every day, that's our way. Try our 2-taco combo and get 2 tacos, wildly addictive chips, fresh salsa, and a fountain drink for just $6.99. Featuring all of your favorite Mexican entrees, but fresh. Dine in, take home, or we cater. Because at Salsaritas, we do Mexican right. Fast, casual, delicious.
So, you know, you get different services, you get food places, and honestly, restaurants are some of my favorite places to shoot because food always looks good on camera, especially if you alter the colors and things. And for the most part, I get to eat them afterwards. That's a fun part. But any questions? Yes.
On some of those commercials, like there's people talking, but you don't see them. So, like, who's talking?
So how we do that is, if they're not on camera talking, they're usually a salesperson that works at the station, and I'll have them voice it in my office. We have another audio recorder with a microphone, and they'll voice it, and then I'll just move it onto the computer, and then I lay it down and sync it up. So they don't always have, just because there's a voice that you hear on the video, that doesn't always mean I'm recording them on camera. As you saw with the 44 promo, where you saw the talent speaking to the camera, the audio and video was recorded shooting that at that time. But like that Salsarita spot, we have them voice in my office in a controlled environment, and I alter the voice, and I can make it deeper, higher pitched, or change it up, speed it up, things like that. So, any other questions? And I brought the camera that I typically use when I go out. This isn't my whole setup. I usually take a light kit as well, so I'm always lighting up. If you see me out shooting commercial, I have about 3 giant lights on podiums, and I have it aimed at what I'm going to shoot at. And then I take the camera. I have the camera right here. This is the camera I use, and this comes off of this. And this thing is called a Ronin stabilizer. And this is what gives you the control of gliding along things or moving it around. So I can move it in any direction and it stays level. See how that works? And there's all kinds of cool little tools with photography. It gets expensive, but this is what we got, and it makes a big difference. Also, like audio, I have portable microphones I take out, record audio if we have to, stuff like that. That's usually my setup. We've also got tripods, of course, which I'm sure you know what that is. You put the camera on top of the tripod, you see it back there. We're using one right there. They all vary, they're different kinds, but they do the same job, so you can keep it level, move it around. And you can put that tripod and camera on what's called a track. And you may have seen those, that's how they use movies a lot, is you see those rails, and you have like a cart sitting on top of that, and you have the tripod, and you can move it fluidly as it rides along the rails. We got one of those too, but too big to bring here. I don't know if I have anything else. The commercials, I can show you a couple more. Sometimes you get to do more creative stuff, like this one's also for 44, but it uses what's called natural sound, so you don't have a voiceover, you're just using the sound that is recorded in series. Footsteps, coffee. So that's how that works. There's no voice, audio, or anything, and that kind of just shows like the course of a reporter when they come in for the day. So they'll walk in, set their things down, typically make some coffee or something, settle down, get back to their desk, and then type up stories and things like that, catch up on emails. Then there's the police scanner, which is like what the police use on their radios to contact each other. We have one at the station, so we can hear the news first. There's always a police scanner playing in the studio, and if it sounds interesting, it sounds like something that's worth covering, we'll go out to the scene to the address and we'll cover it. And that's how we get the, I guess, the first call to get onto the story before the scene settles down. So that's how we get out there real fast. And then, pack up the gear. See, there's a microphone, there's a camera, just put it in the bag. And then you grab the keys and go out to the story. But, it just depends on what your interests are. If you're more into writing, that'd be a producing job. If you want to be on the camera, that's talent. Or if you want to be like me and just kind of be creative. And, I typically sit behind a computer all day editing stuff. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm out about with the camera, shooting video and working on commercials. So, yes.
What's your favorite part of all of that? Because you listed so many things that you do to make one commercial. What is your absolute favorite part of making a commercial?
Of the process of the commercial?
Yes.
See, I enjoy the whole process. I guess editing would be my favorite part. Because that's where you get to adjust the colors and the sounds and the pictures and the motions. And a lot of thought goes into that. And you may only see maybe 15, 20 different shots, but when I go out and shoot, I have about 50 shots or more sometimes. And sometimes, you just take the better shots that work the best with the spot, and you have to make a process, so you have to eliminate things. And there's a lot of, junk video that I don't use that's just sitting on the computer. So you can't just go out and shoot 10, 15 shots and make that work. Typically they say, an hour's worth of video that you shoot, only 2 minutes is usable. That's how the cutting elimination is. But, I can't just edit, you have to have a background in shooting as well. Because if you get video that isn't shot correctly, say the color's wrong or it's out of focus, you can't edit that, you can't use that. So it's junk video. So you have to have a good understanding of shooting and editing together. Luckily, it's just me. I'm a one-man team, so I do everything, and I don't have to, if somebody else messes up, I don't have to take fault for that. But if I mess up, that's on me. So that's how that works. But it just depends what you want to do. So if you're interested in broadcasting, there's all kinds of different positions for all kinds of personalities and moods and what you want to do, what you're interested in. Sometimes, you know, if you have an interest in it and you work hard, and you get rewarded. And that's another thing that I really like about this field is you can win awards. And I've got with me today, you may have seen these on TV. A lot of TV stars have these, but I've got an Emmy Award.
Very cool.
Wow,
that's
so
awesome.
I won this last year for a news story. I was the photographer on it. I edited and shot that as well. So it wasn't commercials, but it was during my news days. And it was really exciting getting recognized for that. And it just shows that, you know, you have a goal, you work towards that goal, and you push yourself and achieve that goal. So what you win, what you do is limitless. So it's all up to you guys with what dreams you have, and just never keep giving up. So work towards that. Are there any other questions or anything about broadcasting, what I do, general things? Yes.
Have you ever filmed like a TV show commercial?
I don't typically do the TV show commercials. Those are because the TV shows we don't shoot those in the studio, so we don't usually edit TV shows or work on those. So those are given to us by our affiliate, which would be, you know, ABC, CBS, NBC. You know, so all the shows you see on TV, those don't go through me. We don't work on those. Those are given to us to play on the air. So, but I do some feature shows whenever. I didn't bring one today because they're not worth watching because they're 30-minute long TV shows and we don't have time for that. But we've done travel shows where I go out with reporters and we'll go to a city that's kind of outside the area. The latest one we did was Madison, Indiana, which is over by Louisville, Kentucky. And we featured the city. We went to different restaurants and different features there, and we spend the night there. It's like a big 3-day shoot. You go place to place that the city has to offer, different parks, things like that. And we made a show out of that. So I bring that back. And those are bigger projects, which honestly, those are probably the more fun things that I work on. I like those the most. But those are typically only 2 or 3 a year, so they're not as common as commercials. And they take a lot more time that goes into that. So like I said, 30 minutes. And so 10 to 14 hours goes into a 30-second commercial. You can imagine the time that goes into a 30-minute show. It usually takes them about 2 weeks to work on. So 8-hour days, 2 weeks. A lot of time that goes into that. Any other questions? Does anybody use any cameras or photography editing systems on their own? No? Like I said, just stay motivated, do your thing, and if you're interested in broadcasting, you know, you guys can take a field trip to the station, talk to your teachers, and we get a lot of schools in there, and they'll take you to each department and show you. The people will tell you much better than what I can what they do, so since that's kind of their job. But go to the different departments, the news department, my side, sales team, they'll break it down much better than I can for you. So that's all I got. No one else has any questions?
All right. What do we say, guys? Thank you.
You guys can all, I mean, most of you guys have worked with the Sling Studio already, and just some of the things that he was talking about that he does, like Mrs. Newcomer has a few of you guys type up what you're going to do or say in the announcements. And we have people that we have more like a teleprompter that our anchors would use to read from, and someone who's operating that so they can, you know, stay on track through producing our announcements and stuff. We haven't quite got everything down with the Sling Studio yet, but like we add text. That's kind of how, you know, some of the things that he would do. Graphics, we haven't added any graphics because it's still kind of new to us, and I want to take it real slow with you guys, step by step. But a lot of the stuff that he was talking about is stuff that someone in this room has done. So
you guys have your own little mini news station set up here. It may not be on the grand scale of this, but you guys are within the school, and you each do the different positions. Practice on that, you figure out what you like, and if you're interested in pursuing as a career, they have that. You go to school for that. They have careers for that. So
Thank you again so much.
Thank you guys.
All right, Mr. Till's class, quietly bring your chairs.
What if you picked up the email and just dropped it?